Hey pillars, and welcome back to another race recap. We're taking a look at what happened at the 2021 European Road Race Championships, so let's jump right into it. Now, just in case you're here for the race highlights, there will be a timestamp on screen, so skip ahead if you're here for just that. But I do want to take a look at the course profile very quickly before we get into this very interesting race that I really want to break down and analyze. Now, taking a look at the course profile for this European Championships, we're starting in Trento and finishing Trento. If you're not familiar with which country that is, it is in Italy, and today's race is 182 kilometers long with an elevation gain of 3,435 meters. So if you look at the course profile, there is a lot of climb at the beginning, and then there are an 8-lap circuit that's taking place after those pretty big climbs, and there is one significant climb that they're going to have to tackle every lap. So you might be asking, which rider does this suit? What type of rider? So obviously you're going to have to look at riders that are GC and good climbers, but also the riders that have the ability to climb but are also good sprinters. So more of the all-around riders as well. And the strongest teams going into this European Championships are Italy, France, and Belgium. So watch out for them. Taking a look at the last 4 kilometers, it's pretty much a flat sprint on cobbles. So we'll be interesting to see, is it going to be a climber that wins today, or is it an all-around rider that can stay with the climbers and out-sprint them at the end? Who knows how it plays out? These ones are always tricky and usually very interesting because the elevation gain is not 37, 38, 39, pushing to 4,000 meters. So it is in that sweet spot with enough fatigue, what can actually happen. And one thing I really want to note too that I also forget when sometimes these races take place is that this European Championships, usually they don't use earpieces, so they can communicate with a team car and have team tactics that can relay them information behind them. So they really have to make a lot of tactical moves. So it makes it for more of an authentic, you have to use your, ingenuity and intuitive attack and just really gauge what's happening in terms of what you think the best move is in that situation. So it's very exciting. I don't want to ramble too much. Let's jump into the highlights and analyze what took place. Now, jumping into the race highlights for the European Championships, early on, I don't want to analyze the breakaways. It just didn't have the combination of riders. We had Michael Landa, Thibaut Pinot, Felix Großschartner. These breakaways were not going to stick. We have 2016 European champion Peter Sagan. We never saw him in the jersey because he was wearing the rainbow bands at the time, so that's a disappointment. But these breakaways were not working well together. So very unfortunate, but we have Romain Bardet from France to make up for it. There was a breakaway up the road. He's going to go on the attack, try to close it, but we see Remco Evenepoel from Belgium on his rear wheel. It gets the flick, but Romain Bardet just lined up, trying to make a dent and get something going. And then on the descent, the breakaway is still up the road at this point, but on the descent, we see Remco Evenepoel actually just very confident descending, which we didn't see after the Giro, and it seems like the motorcycle GP coach that he got to work on his descending actually has worked. So it's great to see Remco descending with more confidence. But 97 kilometers ago after the descent, everything comes together. The peloton's all together, and Italy not showing their cards. One of the strongest teams here, they're not showing their cards, playing it very, very chill. So basically, Nelson Oliveira is going to go on the attack after that descent, and there is a 5-man breakaway that gets established, but this breakaway is not threatening the big favorites, the big teams, because we see France represented, but we don't see, I think Belgium's there as well, but we don't have the favorites. So in terms of the peloton, they will actually catch in and start working. So you do see right now Belgium, Victor Campenaerts is on the front. They will close the gap to this breakaway. And you see Victor Campenaerts, there's another little breakaway that forms, but they will be caught as well. So that was a big theme of today, just trying to go for attack, getting caught, going on the attack, getting caught. We see Remco Evenepoel at the front. You see Italy as well right there. And this is where the race, in my opinion, really takes off. Romain Bardet, 74 kilometers, he's going for another attack. And this is the last attack that we'll see from Romain Bardet because France really screws things up. But, it just didn't make sense. All other attacks, he gave up, only had a 3-second gap. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you burning matches? So he's going to get caught. And this is where the race really unfolds. Matteo Trentin for Italy goes on the attack. Victor Campenaerts is going to have to close that. And there is a split that happens. Now, unfortunately, we don't have Remco Evenepoel in this group. So we have Tadej Pogačar, Matteo Trentin, Padon. So it's looking pretty strong, actually. I would say this breakaway has the ability to make it to the line, but they're all relatively working well together. And who do we see in the peloton? What team? France is scrambling because they're like, if we don't catch this 32nd, then our chances of winning the European Champions is over because they're the only real team that is not really represented in that move. We have Belgium represented, we have Italy represented, but they're not represented. But anyways, that will get caught basically. Now, luckily, Remco Evenepoel was able to bridge up yet again, which is the theme that I'm saying, that there was attacks, bridges. So Belgium was looking extremely well represented along with Italy as well. Tadej Pogačar is in there by himself, but this group of breakaway riders that they create a split is just insane. We have Ben Hermans from Belgium, Benoit Cosnefroy of France, Tadej Pogačar, Sonny Colbrelli, Matteo Trentin. Italy's represented, Mark Hirschi, Pavel Sivakov. It was just insane. So Hermans for Belgium on this climb that happens during every circuit lap, he's going to turn the gas on and really make it hard. He's going to get popped after he does his turn, and that allows Remco Evenepoel to go on this massive attack that will cause a split from the Tadej Pogačar group that we're in right now. And the only riders that are able to stick with Remco Evenepoel's attack over this climb is Sonny Colbrelli and Benoit Cosnefroy. Now Remco, I would say, because of the earpieces, because he's new to obviously World Tour racing, doesn't have a lot of experience being so young, only 21, he works way harder than he does. So on the last, basically, or the second last climb, Benoit Cosnefroy, he gets dropped for France. So France was represented, but they get dropped. So the fact that Sonny Colbrelli, actually being heavier and being an all-around rider, is able to stick with Remco Evenepoel was just amazing, because Benoit Cosnefroy shouldn't have got dropped, but it shows that he was on the limit. So right now, Remco on these last, I'll do a full analysis. Remco just spending too much energy. Why is he not making Sonny Colbrelli work? That's what really pissed me off, because he should have put his hands up and said, no, I'm not working for this, because if we get caught, that's your fault. If you want to, you're obviously going to outbeat me in a sprint. So it basically just came, the last 10 kilometers just looked like Remco was leading out Sonny Colbrelli, going to the last corner. Sonny Colbrelli goes first. Remco tries to sprint early, and Sonny Colbrelli will just outsprint him easily. And then Benoit Cosnefroy will come in third. So I will get into my analysis, but I'm very, very triggered, and I want to talk about how Remco Evenepoel really messed up his tactics. But basically, when that attack happened, we will talk about the placement. When that attack happened, where Remco went on the attack, it was Sonny Colbrelli along with Benoit Cosnefroy. Benoit Cosnefroy on one of the climbs, I think it was the second last time they were doing the lap, he gets dropped, and Remco had one more chance on the last climb to drop Sonny Colbrelli, and it didn't work. It just didn't. So we have Sonny Colbrelli taking first, Remco taking second, and Benoit Cosnefroy taking third. And Remco Evenepoel really messed up in my opinion. And I will explain why in my Pellet Rant analysis. But what an incredible win for Italy and Sonny Colbrelli. I'm pretty sure this is their fourth time in a row winning it. I could be wrong, maybe third time, but I'm pretty sure this is their fourth time. Let's actually check that right now. Past winners. So I was correct. This is their fourth time winning it. So Italy, just amazing. Probably going to be in incredible form for the Worlds. But anyways, we're going to the Pellet Rant and analysis right now. So the analysis I want to talk about and just share my thoughts in terms of how I think, first of all, I think France, they did do a terrible job, because they were able to get Benoit Cosnefroy up there. So even though Romain Bardet's attacks didn't really succeed, the fact that they were still represented, I can't really fault them. Basically, if Benoit Cosnefroy didn't get third and wasn't represented, then they would have messed up royally for the fact that they were chasing during a section that they should have been represented, having such a strong team. So they were able to make up for their silly tactics in terms of not being always represented and going harder than they had to. Like Romain Bardet attacking, if he got lucky, was fine, because I think they were fine with burning Romain Bardet, seeing if he could get lucky, let him have freedom to go on the attack. But also they were also conserving Benoit Cosnefroy and making sure that he was with the favorites. So that was good. They had some silly tactics. When Romain Bardet was attacking and there was a breakaway, there was like 3 or 2 French riders that were up the road. So it kind of didn't make sense, but they let him have the freedom. So I can't fault them for that. But one thing I'm going to say is Remco Evenepoel, how did he mess up? We're going to analyze it. Now, in my opinion, when he does that attack, after Hermans pulls off his teammate for Belgium and he goes on the attack, I think Remco Evenepoel has to assess the situation, the riders around him, and think really critically, like right now, saying, okay, the only rider that is like me in terms of that can actually directly compete, because you got to think of it from a climber's perspective, you're never going to win against an all-arounder, and you're probably most definitely not going to win against a sprinter. So you got to make that quick math in your head and think, okay, Sonny Colbrelli's in our group along with Benoit Cosnefroy. If I'm going to drop Sonny Colbrelli, like that's an if, because there isn't a lot of climbing. There is a circuit climb. It's not like an actual hilly stage, a hilltop finish that is a sustained 7, 8, 10 kilometer climb. So in that situation, Benoit Cosnefroy and Remco Evenepoel should said, Sonny Colbrelli, you carry us to the line. Because if he had to work for the last 10 kilometers and actually rotate, I'd rather personally be caught than sprinting for second. Because Remco, it's hard to think that you're going to drop him on either the second last climb or the last climb when it isn't a difficult climb. So I'd rather personally be dropped and then have other riders, other good climbers like Tadej Pogačar, like see, that's the thing. Like even Pavel Sivakov was struggling, so it's a hard one. But I just personally wouldn't want to sprint for second place because I would rather get first. So when that split happened, I much rather get caught and then maybe on the second or last climb actually have that like punchy riders go on the attack. But then again, it's that whole thing of in the moment you're trying to assess the situation. Like, at least I could potentially drop him on the second last climb. But all I'm going to say is this. I think Remco didn't mess up in terms of he really did try dropping Colbrelli on the second last climb. Well, not really. On the last climb, he tried going for a little dig, but the climb's not long enough for Remco to make a dent, because obviously he's a GC rider. This isn't a super punchy, classic type. That's not his style of racing, obviously. So I think what Remco just did that was very poor was he worked way too hard, which just made it look like they were right on the same team. Like, Sonny Colbrelli was literally like, haha, Remco, you do all the work on the front, I'm chilling back here. So I think Remco should have really, just said, nah, I'm not working. This is stupid. But he didn't. And I understand, is a podium spot better than 5th? I think for Remco and someone that actually wants to win and cares about the victories rather than placement on the podium, I think it wouldn't have mattered. And I think that would have been a better statement in terms of being a young rider saying, no. You're going to work, because why would I work? Like, I'm a climber, and you're like almost 12 kilograms heavier than me. Like, that makes absolutely more than 14 kilograms, because Remco's 60 kilograms and Sonny Colbrelli's around like 74. So it just pissed me off. Remco worked way too hard, and probably if he had the team radio in his ear, they would have said, Remco, like, stop, bro, stop, like, freaking pulling, Sonny Colbrelli. So I think Italy played it perfectly. Like, Sonny Colbrelli basically forced Remco Evenepoel without even trying to pull for him, and it was already given. We knew watching the last 10 kilometers, most likely Sonny Colbrelli looked very fresh, and that's the funny thing where Benoit Cosnefroid got dropped on the climb and Sonny Colbrelli didn't. And Benoit Cosnefroid is obviously a better climber, you would assume, than Sonny Colbrelli, but if Sonny Colbrelli is on form for climbing in terms of being an all-around rider, then the climb wasn't that difficult, and he got already over the hardest parts. So I think Remco should have maybe not tried to accelerate all on his own. He should have let the onus be on Sonny Colbrelli as soon as there was difference and a split in the peloton. So hopefully Remco can learn from this, that you don't need to do that much work. And we've seen this happen to other Belgians like Wout van Aert, where he does a lot of the work and then ends up losing at the end. So hopefully he learns to be a little bit more, reserved and not really eager to work. But other than that, what an incredible win for Sonny Colbrelli. Italian champion, we won't see him in the jersey. Now he's a European champion, so 4 times in a row for Italy. That's some domination right there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis recap. Tried to do my best. It was a very interesting race to watch live. It was very, tactical in terms of no race radios, attacks getting left and right, who's up the road, who's not, who's represented. Very good all around. So if you guys did enjoy the video, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and until the next one, keep on pedaling.